Okay, Bruno, I've got another hard-hitting technical interview question for you. This one is, explain some of the pros and cons of CSS animations versus JavaScript animations.
Yeah, that one is a question I hear a lot. Actually, it's mostly depends on what you really want to create as an animation. If you want to, I don't know, it's a hover animation. Let's say you have a button, and when you hover that button, you want something to happen, like the button gets bigger, or it moves, or something else is moving. In that case, you usually just need to use what we call a transition. So in CSS, we have two types of animations. Let's say animations. We have the transition and the animation. The transition is to go from a state A to a state B. And you know that the beginning will be this one and the end will be this one. In our case, we want our button to be this size, and when we hover it, we want it to be this size. Then we just use a transition. There is no other question. You can just do it with a transition. We will talk about performances right after. If you need like a more complex transition, but that I mean that it goes like it gets bigger and then it starts, I don't know, like wriggling like this. Well, in that case, you have multiple steps. Like you have the state A, state B, state C, D, and continues like that. So you have multiple states. In that case, you might need what we call an animation. An animation will go through different keyframes. But yet again, it means you know that those are the steps, and it's kind of always the same. From the beginning of the animation, you know that these are going to be the steps. They won't change through the animation. And when you need I don't know, something different, like the button start following the button, and if you move the button there, the cursor there, the buttons continue following the button is continuously following the cursor, like for an advertising or stuff like that. No, I'm kidding. But if the button is following the cursor, you don't know where the cursor will be in like half of a second. So in that case, you have to do it in JavaScript. So it really depends on what animation you want to do. It can be a transition from A to B. It can be an animation, so it's from A to B to C to D and continues. And if you don't know what will happen next, you might use like a JavaScript animation. And you will have to do on each frame, and you have techniques like request animation frame to do that. So on each frame of the user screen, you will do some calculation and take the button and move it and move it and move it. To move the button, you can use classic CSS, because in JavaScript, you can change the transform, you can do a translate, you can do rotation, stuff like that. Then, if you have the choice, because maybe you know that you can do in JavaScript, you can do it in CSS, you might use a transition, or you might use a JavaScript and do the animation on each frame. You might just ask which one is the more performant one. And this is kind of the hard part, because we have kind of tested, but usually a transition, like the most simplest transition, is always better than a JavaScript animation. Some might say no, it depends on other factors, but in the end, if you just, I don't know, get the button bigger, if you do it in CSS, it might be like very good in terms of performances if you're using a transformation and a transition. If you're doing it in JavaScript, you might have more calculation on each frame, which is bad for performances. And that's all.
And I feel like I see this a lot with hovers, like because you can do them with both, but obviously with JavaScript, with a hover, you get your hover in, and you can specify, a lot more detail about what you want to happen there.
Yeah, that's it. It's just more stuff happening during the animation, and then you have to do it in JavaScript.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.